A lot of people are saying that what looks to be a good move on the surface, something that would provide Pakistan with some political stability, might not in the long term end up costing the country even more economic uncertainty.
Crisis averted, but at what cost? Pakistani Prime Minister Yusuf Gilani showered with rose petals as he arrived in Karachi. But that red carpet was lined the day before, when Gilani conceded to the demands of his former ally. To rejoin the coalition, the leaders of MQM party demanded Gilani reverse the recent increase in gas prices, and he did. The price of a liter of gas went from 93 cents back down to 85 cents. MQM argued that since Pakistan's rich landowners were exempted from taxes in their farming businesses, the price hike put all the burden on poor and middle-class families.
We have concern for the people to whom we are answerable, who vote us, elect us. Therefore, we want the improvement in their living condition.
Having forced this concession, political analyst Musharraf Zaidi says MQM comes back to the coalition with more power.
And it can advertise that, hey, we saved the consumer, the extra 6 or 7 rupees that the government was going to impose.
But Pakistan has one of the world's smallest tax bases, and experts say without the gas hike, the government will have to print more money, which adds to a runaway inflation rate already topping 15%.
I think a weak prime minister just got a little bit weaker.
Zaidi says a strong leader would have stood his ground and not caved to political demands.
That's the kind of leadership Pakistan needed as it fights a war against terrorists, as it fights a war against extremism, a war against unemployment and inflation and an economy that's in the doldrums. There's really almost no crisis that isn't befalling the country right now. Unfortunately, that leader isn't the prime minister.
But some say Gilani was fighting just to keep his job, considering that another minority party could have been pushing as early as later this week to try to have a vote of no confidence taken against him. Becky?
Chris, stick with me if you will. I'm going to come back to you in just a moment. First, we want to explain to our viewers just how that political compromise could hurt Pakistan's credibility with international donors. This is a really important part of the story, namely the International Monetary Fund. Now, back in 2008, the IMF rescued Pakistan from bankruptcy with a pledge of $11.3 billion in loans. Now, it's already delivered more than $7 billion, but it's been withholding assistance since May of last year, urging Pakistan to slash spending and end costly energy subsidies. Here's how the IMF reacted to news that Pakistan is reversing fuel price hikes.
Energy subsidies consume a large part of the budget. They're inefficient and untargeted, so that the bulk of the of the benefit from the energy subsidy goes to higher income individuals and large companies.
All right, well, that's the IMF's line. The United States, another major donor to Pakistan, was also none too happy about the news that promised economic reforms have been scrapped. Have a listen to this.
We have made it clear, as I did in a meeting with their ambassador, that we think it is a mistake to reverse the progress that was being made to provide a stronger economic base for Pakistan, and we will continue to express that opinion.
Hillary Clinton for you with so much outside opposition to Pakistan's reversal on key economic reforms. What does the political party that demanded it have to say? Well, you're going to find out. We're joined now by Farooq Sattar. He's the parliamentary leader of MQM, the Muttahida Aqwami movement. And I do hope that I've pronounced that properly. You've heard what the IMF and certainly the US, who are a great and important partner for Pakistan at this point, have to say about the reversal of these reforms. You might call it a sort of reconciliation government at the moment. What they will see is concessions, conceding by what was a minority government by the weekend. How do you defend this decision?
Actually, the decision that we have made today to rejoin the treasury benches on the parliament, it is still not that we are joining the cabinet, federal government. We are not joining them, the federal government, at least for the time being. And the decision that we took today was very painstaking, very thoughtful, and was not very simple. In fact, we have made a sacrifice. And this sacrifice is for lending strength to stability and democracy in Pakistan, and to avert the threats that are coming to stability and democracy.
Right,
and the threats are coming from the newly emerging wave and challenge of religious extremism and fanaticism with the brutal assassination of Salman Taseer, the governor of Punjab.
Let's come to that. At this point, though, the decisions to repeal these laws effectively don't make economic sense. It's no good for Pakistan. Yeah. So I understand what you're saying. We can come to what's going on in Pakistan in a moment. But this doesn't make economic sense.
Yeah. No, on the economic side, my dilemma is that I have never been consulted. I have been in the government for the last 3 years. What is the nitty-gritty of the IMF package? What deal was struck?
It was $11 billion.
It was.
You got 7.
But
they ain't going to give you the other 4.
Yes, but what were the conditions? And how conveniently the feudal, the parliament and the government rife with feudals and tribal lords, and the ruling elite for the last 60 years has been passing the buck onto the common man through the indirect mode of taxation. VAT or sales tax is an RGST is an indirect tax mode of.
Are you prepared? No, let me ask you this question. Are you prepared to bankrupt Pakistan to pander to what you see as a wave of popular extremism on the streets? Because, forgive my naivety, but that's certainly what it seems like as a person looking from the outside in.
The inflation rate, which is 15%, the economy which has registered a sluggish growth rate of not more than 2% for the last 2 years. Petroleum prices, last 3 months ago also already there was a rise in it. The electricity and gas tariffs have already been increased. So keeping all these inflationary factors, can you imagine that what havoc it is wreaking on the common man? How difficult it has made to make them meet their both hands.
With respect, so I can, because every other country around the world is going through... Hang on a minute. Every other country around the world is engaged in austerity measures at present. I can understand how difficult it is for people. But if you were to bankrupt the country, what's the point?
I can very effectively and very through a concerted and organized effort. I have got an alternate model of 9-point proposal that I have given to the government. Had we been consulted right from the day one, and had we been confronted by the IMF, I am ready to defend my country and my case, that we are for complete economic sovereignty, freedom and independence of Pakistan. And that will only come about if the big agriculturists, their big incomes, if the wealthy people, their incomes are taxed. 20% of the economy is agriculture, and that contributes only 1% to the pool of the tax. Rest of the 80% portion of the economy is contributing the total taxes of Pakistan.
Let me ask you one
question.
So
why are we overburdening the people who are already paying taxes, the salaried class, the ordinary man, the common man?
And that
so
we
this
understand.
Is unjust and discriminatory.
Let me ask you one question at this point. There are many people around the world who fear for not just the future of this government in Pakistan, but for the future of Pakistan at this point. How worried are you?
That's why I'm saying that if inflation goes up to 20 to 25%, price hike, if things become non-affordable, if people are, and the markup rate is 14.5%, in the wake of this, the RGST which we are imposing, which if we impose, is going to yield 80 to 200 billion rupees in 2 years time down the road. So what will happen that with every this increase in markup rate, because the economy is starved of the funds in the banks, they are not. There is no investment taking place.
Do you fear for the future
unemployment,
of
unemployment and poverty alleviation are far-fetched dreams. So how are we going to address those? No socio-economic reform agenda, no land reforms, no cooperative farming, no microfinance or small loans effort, no SMEs organized. That sector is also not being supported. So war on terror will be, if we are going to win it in this patchy and this piecemeal efforts in Swat or Waziristan, or but it is spreading all over Pakistan.
You're worried.
It needs a concerted and organized effort.
You're concerned. I'm going to leave it there. We thank you very much
for
joining us.